The Division, the Green Poison. Tom Clancy's The Division is an online action role-playing game developed by Massive Entertainment and published in 2016 by Ubisoft. Set in a semi-open world version of Manhattan, New York City, The Division follows the character in their mission to restore order to the city and investigate the source of a deadly virus that has ravaged the city and risks the entire planet. What is this virus, and where did it originate? I intend to answer these questions and more with this deep dive into Tom Clancy's The Division, Green Poison Virus. The deadly virus of The Division went by many colloquial names: the Green Poison, Dollar Flu, and Cashpox, among many others, but officially it was called the Smallpox Virus Chimera virus. Smallpox Virus Chimera is a genetically engineered supervirus based on the smallpox virus. This virus was created by virologist Dr. Gordon Amherst, who was noted as being a radical environmentalist who believed the only way to reverse or slow human-caused climate change was to reduce the human population exponentially through a mass contagion. Dr. Amherst would, using Dr. Vitaly Chernenko's research on the digitization of genetic coding, digitize the Varroa major genetic code for various recombination experiments and exploited 3D printing technology to fabricate the new Varroa Chimera strain. Dr. Amherst would use US dollar bills contaminated with the virus as its first vector to spread it among the population in New York City on Black Friday, thereby easily spreading it among the city's population and any infected leaving the city as well. Originally thought of as simply another seasonal influenza strain, it was quickly discovered that something much more dangerous had broken out into the world's population. The green poison, as previously mentioned, is primarily a derivative of the smallpox virus, with the genetic code of Varroa major. However, due to the modifications Dr. Amherst would make on the virus, the strain which he creates would be considered the Varroa Chimera. A chimera, or chimeric virus, is a virus that contains genetic material derived from two or more distinct viruses. Dr. Amherst's Varroa Chimera is an example of such a virus due to the presence of genetic coding of dengue, Ebola, H1N1, hantavirus, Marburg, and the swine flu, itself a strain of H1N1. I will, however, be referring to the virus as one of its colloquial names, the green poison, from here on out. Because of these genetic modifications made by Dr. Amherst, the green poison is highly contagious, with a mortality rate reaching 90%. To put this into perspective, children are normally at higher risk and have higher mortality rates with the naturally occurring smallpox than adults, children being 80% and adults being 30%. Due to Dr. Amherst's modifications, however, the green poison is a high risk to all victims across the board, making it one of the most, if not the most, contagious and deadly disease in human history. As it was also digitized, it was effectively infinitely mutable, meaning the virus was highly adaptable and subject to mutations, making it difficult to combat with any antibiotics or vaccinations. Green poison can be found to survive on both organic and inorganic surfaces, making it easier to spread the virus further with physical contact of infected surfaces. Dr. Amherst designed the virus to survive much longer on non-organic surfaces, such as the currency, which he used to spread the disease much more effectively. The green poison is also able to remain in a dormant state for significant lengths of time, with months having been cited. This is confirmed by a second-wave division agent who was able to recover still contaminated currency from the Abel's department store in the garment district of Manhattan. Not only can the virus remain dormant on surfaces, but also within a living host's wounds and even the dead as well. Spreading much like influenza, or simply the flu, the virus can enter its host via the mouth, nose, ears, and eyes by droplets in the air, or through contact with contaminated surfaces, making it spread exponentially easier and fast. The green poison has a 7-day incubation period during which the virus grows in the host's body, but no symptoms are visible. After the incubation period ends, the victim experiences flu-like symptoms and becomes highly contagious. After 3 days of these flu-like symptoms, rashes begin to appear all over the host's body, typically rendering them bedridden. Within another day or two, many of these lesions turn into small blisters full of clear fluid. 8 to 9 days later, these turn into scabs that eventually fall off. It is during this final phase in which most fatalities occur. The green poison, if unable to kill its host, will often leave them scarred or even blind. It is believed that Dr. Amherst did, however, program the green poison to eventually burn out after a certain length of time, although it is unclear how long it would take to reach that point. However, due to the nature of the virus' contagiousness and ability to remain dormant for long periods of time, risk of a second outbreak is present. Such risks can occur if former quarantine clinics and laboratories have not properly disposed of infected bodies or samples. The outbreak of the green poison pandemic would lead to large areas of the United States and the world suffering from societal and infrastructural pressures. In some areas, there would be a total collapse of formal authority and societal norms, leading to anything from uncontrolled mass rioting and looting to non-traditional or even criminal control over the affected areas. New York City is a significant example of an area in which societal collapse has occurred in large areas of the city, and that's not even accounting for it being ground zero of the green poison virus outbreak. Because of this breakdown in society, various organized factions have taken up control of portions of the city, each with their own methods and goals for handling the green poison, good intentions or otherwise, including the division itself. The Dark Zones are a premier example of how the green poison led to the collapse of authority and societal norms in parts of New York City. Originally, dark zones were quarantine zones established by the government and patrolled by its forces with the intention of containing the virus. However, due to the increased pressure and threats on the city's infrastructure caused by food shortages and rioting, eventually the government was forced to abandon these zones. In abandoning these quarantine zones, the government left not only the residents and even many first-wave division agents within these zones behind, but large amounts of equipment as well. The name Dark Zone likely derives from the fact that outside communication is limited and that the areas have largely become lawless and gang-infested. Of course, dark zones are also highly contaminated areas, which is likely the primary cause for the name. If one must venture into a dark zone, they must be properly equipped with level 4 filtration gear that will protect them from contamination, as well as necessary ballistics protection for the various human dangers in the zone. Note, the contamination levels are known to fluctuate to lethal levels in certain parts of the dark zones. Any equipment brought back from dark zones must be decontaminated immediately to prevent any further spread of the virus. Notable landmarks within the dark zones include the Empire State Building, Rockefeller Center, Radio City Music Hall, Carnegie Hall, the Plaza Hotel, and Trump Tower. While dark zones are largely cut off from the outside world can still influence the dark zones themselves. Most notably, the government will periodically send supplies into dark zones. However, these drop times and locations will be random, and as such, subject to cause quite the stir within the dark zones. While agents will receive notification and direction to these drop locations, it is advised that agents take caution while they secure and obtain the contents of these supply drops, as rogue or criminal elements will also seek them out for far more nefarious ends. The contents of these crates vary between gear, attachment, and weapons, all of which are already decontaminated, meaning they do not need to be decontaminated upon extraction. Be advised, however, as supply crates, once claimed and its contents removed, will initiate a self-destruct sequence, so it is suggested to vacate the area as soon as possible after any successful supply extractions. Due to limitations on communication with the outside world, extraction from a dark zone must be carried out in a specific manner. Agents must go to designated extraction zones and fire a flare in order to notify joint task forces to come pick them up via helicopter. These extractions can be very dangerous, however, as shooting off the flare will alert anyone within the surrounding area, friend or foe alike. As such, it's expected that extractions come with a certain amount of risk to initiate, so it's best to be prepared. It has also been found that agents may use these flares as a means of distraction for rogue agents from their actual intentions or routes. Upon successful extraction, agents will return to base to recover and collect their now decontaminated procurement obtained from the Dark Zones. The green poison is one of the most contagious and deadly viruses to ever outbreak within human history. Engineered by Dr. Gordon Amherst, commonly considered an eco-terrorist, while others may even consider him a genius, this virus would come close to achieving Dr. Amherst's goal of reducing the human population exponentially to, in his eyes, save the planet. The green poison would catch governments and society off guard due to its unique genetic traits, allowing it to spread quickly and exponentially. The virus would become so widespread that entire countries, especially the United States, would face near collapse of infrastructure and society. New York City, ground zero of the virus, would become the focal point and primary focus of the government's efforts to wrest back control from the chaos and to find a way to fight back against the deadly disease. And even then, some areas may never recover from the pandemic's impact. That's the end of the video, Wastelanders. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and a comment. Remember to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. I've noticed that about 80% of my viewers don't actually subscribe, so it would help me out immensely if you were to give me that subscription. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe in the wasteland, guys.